Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to talk about Overton Park Conservancy. We're joined by their executive director, Tina Sullivan. And Tina, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for inviting me to be on your show.
Absolutely. Give us a little backstory for Overton Park and Overton Park Conservancy.
Sure. Well, Overton Park was actually founded in 1901, so we have a very, very long history. Lots of stories to tell. But this year is particularly important. It's a milestone year. We're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Supreme Court decision that saved the park from the freeway expansion. And we're celebrating the people who made that happen. And we're also celebrating people today who are continuing to advocate, support, and help us protect Overton Park in perpetuity. So there's a lot going on. We're capturing those stories and sharing them back out.
And so talk about how people can participate, because you have a hashtag, you have a whole landing page on your website dedicated to capturing those stories. So how can we be a part of that?
So it's interesting, since the Conservancy has been managing the park for 9 years now, we have people coming up to us telling us, my mother took our photos in front of the Doughboy statue 40 years ago, or I learned to play golf at the Overton Park golf course and played in the Junior Open tournament. So we've been capturing those stories over the years. This year, we're really lifting them up and celebrating, and we're encouraging people to join in and make sure that their stories are added to our archive. They can do that by going to our website. It's overtonpark.org/stories, or they can simply tag us on social media. Any place that you find Overton Park, you just hashtag Overton Park Stories, and we'll catch those and share them back out.
So for those who, especially, with this kind of reaching far and wide in terms of the show, for those who don't know Overton Park, describe the footprint and all of the kind of cool landmarks that are a part of this.
Overton Park is in the center of it all, and it's a place where Memphians come together. It's literally in the heart of Memphis, in Midtown Memphis. It's at 342 acres. We have cultural institutions, the zoo, one of the top zoos in the country, the Brooks Museum, the Levitt Shell, and then one of the oldest continuously operated municipal golf course in the country, which is currently being redeveloped. So with all of those amenities, the park would be pretty exciting. But the park also boasts the only urban old growth forest in the Southeast United States. So you can be in the heart of Memphis, you can be surrounded by all these cultural institutions in a busy city, and then you can step into the forest and be surrounded, immersed in nature. You can participate in watching songbird migrations right now. We just passed our wildflower season. There's so much to do in the park, and there are so many people doing so many different things. It's an exciting place.
And I think, we learned this too, but to your point about the zoo, there's a lot of research that's being done in that natural habitat for endangered species and all these things that, to your point, like you don't realize just the scope of Overton Park and all of the different facets that some people see and some people don't see.
That's so true. It's a biological wonder. So we do have scientists on our staff who are studying the flora and fauna, the trees, the birds of Overton Park. We are partnering with the zoo, just beginning to scratch the surface in our partnership with the zoo on how to approach our research from a conservation perspective. So there's a lot of exciting stuff happening. There's going to be a lot of research revealed. As you know, research takes time, so we don't really have any details to share right now, but we're studying this very old forest, and we're bringing in students and teaching them about research methods, and we're having them gather data for us as we plan for the long-term future of this place.
Speaking of planning for long-term future, you're going through a master planning process right now. Describe that process and how people can add their input.
Yes, this is the first master plan for Overton Park since 1988, and we are asking folks to share what they'd like to see in the future of the park. We first actually have focused on the east side of the park because there's a big opportunity to reclaim parkland in the southeast corner. It's an area that's been used by the city of Memphis for park maintenance and other types of maintenance facilities for the past, 80 years, and we're now planning for that to be returned to the people as some sort of park activity over there. So we spent a lot of time asking people what they wanted to see in that southeast corner, or really what they may want to do in Overton Park that they're not currently able to do. So we've been planning for that east side, and we are just about to launch the next phase of planning, which will encompass the entire park. So we'll be looking at how people come into the park and through. We'll be looking at how people use the park while they're there, what amenities they would like to see added or improved or even taken away. You never know. So we're hoping to have that wrapped up by the end of the year. So we'll be ready to share out just the vision for the next phase of this park's history. If you're not following us on social media, that's the best way to find out what's happening with the master plan, or you can go to our website, overtonpark.org, and sign up for our e-newsletters. And if you do that, you also get the bonus of our bi-monthly-ish Nature Zen series, where we really do share out some of the flora and fauna of the Old Forest right to your inbox.
So carrying that forward, what's something that you wish, and we'll say something, it could be one or two things or even more, but that you wish everyone knew about Overton Park?
A couple of things, actually. It would be really hard to narrow it down. I'm going to say three things, if that's okay. I'm going to be greedy.
Go for it.
I wish more people knew about the history of this important place. It's was designed by George Kessler, who was a peer of the Olmsted family, the designers of Central Park in New York. So we have a gem. It's like having a Frank Lloyd Wright house on your block. So I wish people knew more about that and more about the history of the Supreme Court decision that saved the park from the freeway expansion, the Supreme Court decision that desegregated public places in Memphis. All of that started in Overton Park. So history is important. I wish people knew more about the natural amenities that they have here. So many people, even if they grew up in Memphis, are surprised when they walk into the Old Forest and see just what an incredibly beautiful place it is. So I want people to know that they have that asset available to them. It's very easy to access. We want more people to fall in love with that because we want them to be motivated to preserve it. We want conservation to be top of mind for so many Memphians. And so that really brings me to the third thing. I wish more people knew that the park was managed by a nonprofit conservancy and that we raise 85% of our budget from the public through donations.
Talk about the Conservancy, that same idea, but expand that. Go ahead and talk about what your role is and the formation of the Conservancy, but the mission and the purpose and how you protect the environment and are good stewards, and even back to the master plan, even looking forward. So describe the Conservancy.
Great. Well, so we're a very small nonprofit, including me. There are 6 of us on staff, and we manage 184 acres of the park's 342. We were founded about 9.5 years ago by a couple of local civic-minded Memphians, George Cates and Gary Shore, who put a stellar board of directors together, and collectively they raised funds to get the Conservancy off the ground. So we've been managing the park as basically a contractor of the city of Memphis. The city pays us about 15% of our budget, and then we go raise the rest. That's allowed us to make tremendous improvements to the park. I'm not going to tick down the list of things that we've done since we started, but they're the things that you've brought your kids to enjoy, or you found yourself spending time in the afternoons there. Our mission, our vision is to create a beautiful, safe, and welcoming place that draws our diverse community together. And I am proud to say that I see that mission being carried out every day, that vision being carried out every day. So our charge really, as we embark on this master planning process, or as we wrap up this master planning process, isn't to dramatically change the park. This place is a thriving, bustling, beautiful place with a rich history and a rich culture all its own. Our job is simply to refine it and to make sure that we're delivering what Memphians want. And so that's the thrust of our master planning process. We call it a people-centric plan. We really want to focus in obviously on protecting the space, but mostly on making sure that Memphians are using the park and that they are satisfied when they come.
During the pandemic, I think Overton Park played a vital role, and still is, obviously, when you talk about being outdoors, the mental health for our citizens to be able to, go outside, enjoy nature, and kind of make it through. So talk about that side of mental health being open and obviously accessible during the pandemic, and what that has been like on your end to see that.
Yeah, it's been wild. I know, obviously, we are very fortunate in that we work in a place that did not get shut down permanently or have, serious survival questions as the pandemic unfolded. We were closed briefly for about 6 weeks, and that was just because so many people were gathering in large numbers in the park that Overton Park and several other parks across the city were temporarily restricted. Access was restricted just to control the crowds. Well, what we heard so frequently through the entire pandemic was that I don't know how I would have survived being cooped up with my family in my house if I didn't have the outlet of Overton Park to get to, and if I didn't have a place where I felt safe going and getting a little bit of exercise and being around people, being in a space that was large enough for us to space out from each other. There is a palpable sense of community in the park, and I think that people they needed to be outside, but they also needed to feel connected to a community. We were also isolated during the pandemic, and the park gave us a place to go to kind of wave at our friends from a distance, to see your regular morning running buddies or your dog park happy hour friends, to, not get too close, but to still feel like you were there as part of the community. And this is not, it was a unique year in that it was a pandemic year, but this phenomenon is not unique. Those of us that live in cities and don't have big yards or acreage to roam need green spaces for our mental health and for our physical health. It's well documented through all kinds of research that children need exposure to nature to grow healthy brains. We need exercise. We need to literally see the color green in nature to kind of reset our brains. We are basically, my coworker likes to say, we're just basically large apes, and we do still have physiological needs that are connected to the natural world.
How has this work changed you in terms of your appreciation of nature, your view of just, the intertwining of the natural environment with humans and our mental health? How has all this changed you?
That's a really good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. I've always had a keen sense of connection to nature. I was an outdoorsy little kid, probably because my mom made us go outside so we wouldn't be so loud in the house. I think that I am definitely much more committed to conservation now that I understand how important connection to nature is to everyone, and what a privilege it is that I grew up with a yard where I could go crawl under the bushes and look at worms. Not everybody has that. And it is so important for our collective mental health. Our citizens all need to have that access. And I think I'm much more committed to conservation, not just for the sake of the assets being conserved, but for the sake of the people who are going to use those assets.
Yeah, love it. So wrap up and talk about the ways we can help. And obviously then where do we go to learn more? You mentioned the website a couple of times, but where do we go and how do we help?
Well, it's easy to remember. It's overtonpark.org. So make sure you go there. You can find everything you need to know about the park, including our park partners, our cultural amenities. And I would not be doing my job as executive director if I didn't remind you that we raise 85% of our budget from donations from the public. So make sure that you sign up as a monthly member or become a Roots member or a Canopy member. We have lots of membership categories to get you excited. And then, as I said, I would love for people to share their stories with us. It's overtonpark.org/stories. If you follow that link, you can submit your own, but you can also read what other people have submitted. And my guess is you're going to find some kindred spirits there because everybody's got a story about the park.
Well, Tina, greatly appreciate all you and your team do. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for all you do for Memphis. I'm a huge fan and I'm really honored to be here. So thanks again.